Hey everyone, Farmer Q here. I'm just about to shoot a video on making these golden beet greens. I've been looking forward to cooking these greens for a while now. The time has finally come. So why don't y'all hang with me in the kitchen, be my assistant chef, and we'll get these greens cooked right on up. First, I'll go ahead and chop up my garlic. So now we're gonna go ahead and chop up the greens. We're gonna use the stems and all because they're so tender. Sometimes when I harvest greens, I'll take the stems out and I'll compost them if they're not really palatable, but in this particular case, the stems are just as delicious as the greens. So I highly recommend y'all take the stems as well. Alright, this is one stack. We got maybe 2 or 3 more stacks like this to go. What I like to do is just separate at the stem, separate them, and then chop them up to pieces individually. So here we go. Here's all our stems right here. And here's all our greens right here. We're gonna go ahead and place these stems over to the side for now. We have our greens bunch. What I like to do to chop my greens up, it's really simple. This makes it super easy to chop greens up as well. So feel free to take this and run with it. So I have them all stacked together. I scrunch them together a little bit, just like this. And I just, since my knife is so sharp, I literally just come over the top of it, chop it like that. Once I get my first chop, all I do is flip my cutting board just like this, and then I'll come on the side just like this. Make sure you go nice and slow with the knife so you don't cut yourself and you're being really careful. So this is what our first stack of chopped greens looks like. See, it's all ready to go in the pot. So we're gonna put this in a bowl. We're gonna chop the rest of them up and chop the stems up, put it all together, season it, and get it ready to cook. All right, let's go ahead and get the next stack ready. Our second stack. One thing that you need to remember when you're stacking these greens and when you're cutting them up is to make sure that they're all stacked to where the stem meets the green in the same spot. If y'all notice, I made sure that when I stacked them, I'll put one down, and no matter what the next size was, I'm able to basically start where the leaf starts and the stem starts at the same spot. So when I chop the greens, I chop the stem on every single green that I chop at the same point, so that I save as much greens as I can and I save as much stems as I can. Because if I was taking the stems as compostable material, then I would want to make sure that I'm not taking greens that I want to eat with that. So these are just little things to think about when you're preparing food or when you're trying to take things out to compost. See? You end up with a whole bunch of stem, a tiny bit of leaf, but a lot of stem separated. Then you end up with a fat stack of leaves, straight leaf. Little stem is still there, but you know, we got our leaf stack that we can cut in 2 directions and make our squares. So let's do it. There we go. move on to our last stack. Alright, so here's our last stack. We're going to go ahead and chop it up. So originally I was going to cook these into the greens, but there's a little bit much as far as stems go. So what we're going to do is essentially put these in a little baggie, and tomorrow when I cook, I'm going to make sauteed beet stems. Or I'll just put them in the fridge and do it a few days later. But sauteed beet stems are amazing. So we'll do that in another video as well. So we're going to go ahead and simmer our garlic, get it nice and brown before our greens get going. We're just going to add a little olive oil to the mixture. There's our garlic. I know y'all can smell that through the camera. So while we're waiting on our garlic to get ready, we're gonna go ahead and add some organic chicken broth. We're gonna go ahead and add the whole carton because we got a mess of greens. So we're gonna add the whole carton of this to the pan, and we're gonna season the broth. So inside this carton there's 4 cups of chicken broth. Usually I'd use 2 cups per bunch of greens that I cook, but I'm cooking a pretty big bunch this time, so I went ahead and added the whole carton. Alright, our garlic is nice and brown. We're gonna go ahead and take it off, shake it up a little bit. We're gonna add it back to that glass container we had it in at first. Just like this. Put it off to the side and we'll get back to the broth. So basically all we're trying to do with this broth here is get it to a slight boil. We're gonna add the seasonings to it as we get it to a boil, and then after we add the seasonings in and it's at a boil, we'll reduce the heat and then we'll add the greens to it and let them cook all the way through. So this is really simple as well. So the first thing we'll be using for seasoning is Slap Your Mama's Cajun Seasoning Blend. It's just salt, red pepper, black pepper, and garlic. We're also gonna add some onion powder, and we'll also add some Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning. First, Slap Your Mama's. Next we got the onion powder. And last up we got the Cavender's. I'm going kind of light with the seasoning. You want to make sure that you don't over season it, because once you add too much seasoning, there's no going back. So now that we've gotten our chicken broth to a boil, we're going to go ahead and add our garlic. Stir it in a little bit. Kind of let it catch the juices of that garlic and incorporate it to the mixture. So now what we're going to do, we're going to bring it down to a low simmer. But before it actually gets down to a low simmer, we're going to go ahead and add our greens. So we've added all our greens to the mixture. We're just going to give it a little tiny stir here. Alright, now that our greens are simmering real good in the mixture, make sure that your pan is on simmer. And then from here, all you're going to do is just add your top to it. You're going to set the timer to 35 minutes. You really want to cook it for about 40 minutes, but at the 35-minute mark, you want to check on it. That's it. So we're gonna come back and check on it, and then we'll wrap it on up. All right, so realistically, we only waited about 27, 28 minutes to really let these cook down to where they need to be considered done. So check them out. I'll give y'all a closer view to kind of see how they look, but these smell amazing. For these to be veggie greens, no meat added, they smell so good. So just giving y'all a quick view, and I'll get a spoon of them so you can see it a little bit closer. So check them out, they look delicious. All right, that's it for cooking the golden beet greens. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I've been pretty busy lately with all these videos and everything else, but I love it and I would prefer it any other way. So I appreciate it, y'all, and I guess that's it. Farmer Q out.